begin my time?
You may.
Thank you, Your Honor. May it please the court. Opposing counsel. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury. The world judges us by our actions. And not always are our intentions known. You will hear a lot about actions, and you just heard a lot from the state about particular evidence they found, particular actions. But what about intention? The law requires not only actions, but intentions as well. I went to a musical just recently here in Davenport called Tina Turner's Musical. And in that musical, I became very excited about reading her book. Her book is very interesting if you're ever interested in reading a book about Tina Turner. The interesting thing that connects this particular book to the idea of intention is that in her book she describes a moment in her life when her mother passed away. And her mother and her had had some difficulties throughout their lives and so forth. As we all know, Tina Turner was very, very popular, very overwhelmingly popular in the public eye. Tabloids were writing about her, media was on top of her quite a bit. Her mother died. Her mother died, and she didn't appear at the funeral. Now, the tabloids and the media had a heyday with that. How could this self-centered, egocentric star fail to come to her mother's funeral? Intent, right? In her book, she talks about what happened. That if you know anything about Tina Turner, that wasn't her real name. Her name was Anna Marie Bullock. She wanted her mom to have her funeral, not the star Tina Turner's, opening to a show, coming in and taking over her mother's funeral. She wanted her mother to have a proper funeral with her family and her friends and be able to bereave the passing of her mother. And she and her sister, in a private setting, chose then to do what they did, which was have their own private funeral. One of the state's requirements is to prove the intention of Mr. Behal. Intention is very difficult to prove. Getting inside this mind of somebody. Just like getting inside of the mind of Tina Turner and why she would choose not to go to her mother's funeral. When I was a kid, there was these coloring books that we used to have, these where you'd have a picture and it had numbers on it with dots. And if you drew according to the numbers, you would come up with the picture that the master designer, that is the person with the intent behind that picture, wanted you to create. Now, I was a follower and I followed those dots. But I have a niece of mine who doesn't, that she likes to create her own pictures with those dots and comes up with other things. And it's very fascinating. The point about this is we're going to have points or moments in this trial. Each piece of evidence that you hear, each witness that you hear are points like that color by number, right? Or not color by number, but that connect the dots, connect 1, 2, 3, 4 that you come up with. And if you follow the dots of the master designer, you would get the intent of the person that you wanted. Now, the state is not the master designer of this picture. They are going to put forth the dots in the places that they want to put them in. They are not the master designer. What we're asking you is to keep an open mind. To keep an open mind to listen to all the evidence, all of the testimony that is presented in this courtroom, and only this courtroom, that's subject to the law, that's subject to cross-examination, direct examination by both counsel, or all four, I guess. And then, only then, go back into the jury room and deliberate. But consider what you hear. And don't let the state draw the picture for you. Draw the picture yourself. You are the finders of fact. You are the ones that come up with the fact of what happened on March 14th, 2024. The state must prove Mr. Behal guilty of murder in the first degree and domestic assault with intent to commit serious injury. Both of these require intent. As we talked about in jury selection, hold the state to their burden. Hold the state to their burden. But keep an open mind. As we also talked in jury selection, there are lesser included charges. There is more gray. Thank you.
Is the state ready to proceed?
We are, Your Honor.
You may call your first witness.
The state calls Mike Holland. Thank you.
Raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth? Please have a seat there, and if you'd make sure your microphone is on. If you'll just press right there, sir, it'll turn red. All right, thank you. You may proceed.
Thank you very much, Your Honor. Good afternoon, sir. Will you please tell us your name and spell it for our court reporter?
My name is Michael Holland. That's MICHAEL,
Do you live in the Quad City area?
I do.
How long have you lived in this area?
Pretty much my whole life.
What do you do for a living?
I'm a CDL driver.